Okay, this last avoda was actually wonderful for me. I'll just catch everybody up. What were we doing? We said that we're trying to be a chacham, and we work with Chazal's definitions of the chacham. But in Mishlei, in the Gra, we see that another form of chacham is being a shomea eitzah, someone who hears eitzah. And we basically said that to hear eitzah, you have to get eitzah, and it's not simple to get eitzah for a lot of different reasons. And we tried to go straight into the um, maze and start asking eight some more. That was the basic idea, and I suggested everybody would ask Eitzah 4 or 5 times. And we said sometimes our problem with asking Eitzah is because we haven't thought it out enough ourselves, or we have a concept that to ask an Eitzah has to be from someone on a very, very high level. So therefore, it's once we have thought about the issue well ourselves and we have access to someone who's on a high enough level that we would want to hear him, etc., etc. And that holds the person back from asking Eitzah. And we mentioned that Rabbi Yerucham gave advice, Rabbi Yerucham gave Eitzah to get Eitzah from anybody. Ask a non-Jew ask a non-Jew in the street, Eitzah, and he'll tell you something. And our understanding of what Rabbi Yerucham said initially is that it's just important to hear other dayas, other views. A person gets stuck in his own way of thinking, his narrow box of what reality is, and he doesn't hear, and he makes big mistakes like that, and you don't realize. So therefore, it's open to just open yourself up. So I did it. Baruch Hashem, I was open to do it. A lot of it on Friday when a little bit more of an interaction with the world. So the first thing I did was I'll just go through it. I think it's a little bit telling. I asked a money changer whether the dollar was going to go up. I don't know if everybody in Chutz La'aretz realizes, but the dollar is very weak in Israel. And for institutions like mine, which are based on which we buy things in shekels, but we receive tuition and donations in dollars, is not so good. So we're aware of it over here, what's going to be with the dollars. So anyways, I asked him. Now, as I said, I thought it was a silly question because does he really know? In general, one thing I don't understand all is economics, and I don't assume other people understand economics either. Um, a lot of economists make tons of mistakes all the time, and it's not a field which my brain is attracted to or really understands. So it's not. So he's not going to know. But there's a point here, which is break. It did help me to break out of my habit of not asking so much Eitzah, because that's exactly the type of thing which would hold me back, right? Well, does he really know better than me, etc. But then, soon after that, there was an older gentleman in a bagel store. I think I was getting a coffee for myself, my wife. I think it was just for myself. My wife was away, but I was getting a coffee in a bagel store. An older gentleman came in and started giving some advice about shalom bayis. And usually I would have, I mean, I'm a friendly person. I don't mazalz on people, definitely not. Chas v'shalom, don't want to give anybody a bad feeling. I would usually smile. But then I said, oh, I'm working on eight, so ask him something. And he dafka said, some dvarm shel tam. I said, well, please tell. He said, people don't. I don't remember how he started. But then I asked him, what do you say? What do you say? And he said intelligent things about shalom bayis, definitely chizik things. Maybe did I not know the ideas he said? I probably was aware of them, but things need chizik, as the Gemara in Bracha says, Arba Dvarim Tzrichim Chizik. Rashi says, Tamid, things need chizik all the time. I think one of them is Derech Eretz, and Shalom Bayis included that, Derech Eretz, let's say, and it's Tzrichim Chizik Tamid. So I definitely got a little chizik from this guy, definitely, definitely. And then I saw my Mechudin, my dear Mechudin, Rabbi Yosef Feller Shlita, and I Dafka asked him about a certain business idea or whether I should. I'm not a big businessman at all, but I have a certain idea for a product. So I asked him, what do you think about me going ahead with this idea for the product? He said, for sure, you should go ahead with it. So I saw, I found that what I kind of suspected was that I don't, I'm not, again, because I think it comes from something good that I like to think through things and I'm trained to think through things and I can think through things, but that stops me from asking Eitzah, right? Because that older gentleman is not going to be in the bagel store, Dafka, or he's not going to run into my life exactly after I've thought about whatever topic I want to think about. And neither is my mechun going to appear. I happen to be at my son's house for Shabbos because my wife is away, and my mechun came for Shalashudis, his daughter, my son, 20 minutes away, lovely Shalashudis. I like this mechun very much. As all my mechutanim, Baruch Hashem, I'm blessed with good mechutanim. And there he is. So what are we going to do? Well, let's wait till we think about it ourselves. Well, no, Yosef Feller has a good head about different things. He's been involved in, besides the Rosh Kol, but he's definitely involved in some financial matters. Shoot, there we were working tomorrow. I waited till after Shabbos. I said, Baruch HaMavdil. And I asked him, and he said something to me. So now I want to share a word which we've said before, but I found, right? I found that, and I realized, and I saw that I wasn't asking Yates enough, and I saw there was a Toelis. I think that's another thing I saw. I saw there was a Toelis in it. I saw that there was uh, that it was helpful. I think particularly both of them, both the money changer wasn't so helpful, but my Mechutton was helpful, and the fellow in the bagel store was definitely helpful. Definitely two thumbs up. Definitely helpful because he gave me a little chizik about shalom bayis, and shalom bayis is something we all need chizik about always. And he said something which was intelligent. Do little things for your wife, and always do nice little things for your wife. Speak nicely to her, and do little things for her. You come home, bring her something. Very nice. Yeah, famod. So I saw a friend that has Toalas. Now, let's just indent that paragraph for a second and focus on that. That is what if you want to know, what are you looking for in a Vod? There are millions of hours shurim. I think Torah Anytime just did a fundraiser, and you can hear on their fundraising video how many hours of shurim they have. And in our little small Darchei Noam library of shurim, there are hundreds and thousands of hours shurim. And you have YU Torah, which is probably hundreds of thousands of hours of shurim. And Rabbi Gladstein has 13,000 hours of shurim. And Ari Leibowitz has 7,000 hours of shurim. And this one has that many hits. And Aish Baruch Hashem has 4 million. Aish has 4 million followers and a million things a month. Beautiful. There's no end to the amount of Torah available today. And some of it is even decent. No end. Why are we engaged in Avad? What's the point? What's the point? The point is, in Avad, as opposed to other things, you can discover things. Because you're working about things, you can find things about yourself. Not just take Torah in, not just share Torah, but find things. When you engage in Avodas Hashem with your hands, right? Not just Chizuk, daven well, Shalosh Sudas, thank you Hashem, which is great, putting it down. But this is not thank you Hashem either. It's something totally different. It's that we find things about myself, right? Here I am. If it wouldn't have been for Avad, there's no reason I would have ran into this question about Eitzah. I just wouldn't. I wouldn't have. B'derech HaTeva, there's no reason I would run into it. And now we're working on it. And then I read a Shalom Bayis book, which I would have read anyway. But then it says Shomea L'Eitzah Chacham. Ooh, Shomea L'Eitzah Chacham. And I'm working on the idea of what it means to be a Chacham. And it's idea of Eitzah. Well, let's make that into Vad. Let's work on it, right? So I have a certain training, but you also have a certain training. And when you start to work on things, and now what do you do when you work on things? You want to find things. I noticed about myself, I found this thing. You're finding things, and it's very, very valuable, and it's very big to a person when he finds things about themselves or about the Torah. I see the Torah demands this. I see that I am like this, right? So for me to realize two things I realized over this although here's the point, although I would definitely be dogel, I would definitely be someone who says a person should ask for Eitzah, and in my life I've asked for a lot of Eitzah, if you include like being under Rabbeim a lot, but looking at myself today, I realize it's a lack, and I realize that it's a lack which is overcomable because I don't necessarily have to find the time to make a meeting with my Rebbe, who's so difficult for me to find the exact time which works for me and works for him, not his fault. But for me to leave yeshiva in the middle of the day and travel to Beitar or go to Ramot or whatever, see this one or that one is difficult, so I can't be Shomei. I said, no. An elderly gentleman in the bagel store could also tell me something. And when you're like that, and you realize that next time you go to a wedding, excuse me, something got the fall. Now we say to ourselves, hey, there's a whole world of people to ask questions to. You go to a wedding. So here's how we normally go to a wedding. We go to a wedding. So what's on our minds? Uh, Chicken or beef often, steak, how much to eat, how much not to overeat. Simchas Chas V'Kala, hopefully Bezrat Hashem, seeing friends. Yafemod. I have another thing for you to do, friends. Ask an Eitzah from someone when you're at the wedding. On what topic? Pick some topics that are important to you. Maybe you have a suffix about chinuch habanim. Now again, let's differentiate between two words. There's like serious eitzah from a chacham gadol. There's das Torah from whoever's das Torah from you, and there's eitzah counsel. Shapell Aizehu Chacham, right? Now maybe even these things you'll say maybe some of these things don't even fall into the category of eitzah. It could be. It could be, but it definitely falls into what Rabbi Yerucham said. Okay, so we have a makor here. The great Rabbi Yerucham Levavit said, "Ask a guy in the shuk, ask a simple person in the shuk what to do, etc." So we have a makor amongst Gedolim for what we're talking about. I understand this might not always be eitzah. Maybe Chazal when they say counsel, it means something else. But you have and you'll learn things. And then when I was writing this down today, I realized that this is Nupshan Lomi Mikol Adam. But here's the point, friends. It's all from the fact that I'm being active with it. It's not just that I'm thinking in my head about the topic or that I'm reading about the topic or I'm hearing a shir about the topic. It's when I'm being active. You want to work on your shalom bias? Of course, you have to have the right ideas. But then you're active with the topic and you learn things as you go. Put it into practice. Now, my son just said to me, we were talking about a lamdasha, talking about a sugya near a day or something. He says, "Oh, when you get practical," he wasn't talking about this, but he said, when you get practical, the sugya changes a lot. People and lamdanim sometimes they're so in the stratosphere, but then you don't penetrate. Where's the idea halacha l'maisa? Does this work? Are pots today bolay or not? Like, and what nafkaminas does that have in the active world? Bring Torah into your active world. Bring your Musar ideas into the active world and see how to work with them. This works. This doesn't work. This is interesting. This is not interesting. This I found something. This not I found something. It's a whole world. And there you go. You go to a wedding. Say like you're working on three things in your mind. You wonder maybe I should try this with your kid. Here's someone. It's free. First off, you don't have to listen to them. They say something that doesn't make sense to you. Don't listen to them. If it's too personal, don't ask them. But there are a lot of things out. You're thinking about buying a new car. So you and your wife say this. Shoot it off one of your friends at the wedding. I was thinking maybe I should get like a 2018. He might say something intelligent. Why are you getting such an old car? You can get a newer car for this much money. It'll only cost you another $100 and you have a newer engine. Or he might say, of course, why you buying a new car? Get a 218. People lease. What are you leasing for? You're spending so much money. You think a lease is a good thing? It's not a good thing. It is. You'll hear. Yeah. So, and then Rabbi said, what I learned was that this new pshat and new aspect in Lomi Mikol Adam, Aizehu Chacham, Lomi Mikol Adam. Now, until now, I thought the pshat in the Lomi Mikol Adam was this. Listen carefully. Lomi Mikol Adam means that you analyze and you watch someone acting and you learn something from them. Look at that good midah that the bus driver had. Look at that good midah. Look at what we learned from Agam Berger, that even in hostage, as a hostage, she kept her emunah. Derech emunah b'charti. Learn from her. You're a bigger Talmud Chacham than Agam Berger, but you can learn from her. That's an obvious one, right? But you can learn from someone else. Look at this Pashut emunah which people had in Hamas tunnels. Learn from them. You're seeing an interview or something. You see something that a sports person made, some interview. If you're seeing such a thing, now you should see that. Don't see it. I'm not getting into that, but you see it. So learn something from him. Here's another point. Lo mikolim, ask them. Aaron, you hear? It's so pasha, we don't realize that. Like, here's the pasha, lo mikolim, ask them. Then when it comes to Talmidei Chacham, obviously your Rav, you realize that. But lo mikolim means sometimes you just have to ask. We're waiting for the person to surprise us. Or we're waiting for the person to do something of note in order for us to learn from him. Look at that nice midah that the bus driver exhibited. But something else. Ask someone, share something with me. What do you say? Again, you can't sound like a kook, you can't sound flaming, but believe me, people want to be asked. Very honest. You say, again, there's a normal way to do it. You're at a kiddush. Suppose it's just shooting the breeze. It's interesting. What are the modes when someone's at a kiddush? You shoot the breeze or you share divrei Torah, which is sharing divrei Torah is tremendous, and there's time to shoot the breeze also, kirvas levavas, etc. But there's something else called ask a question. Not just ask a question because you want to talk and learning. Talking and learning is great. Ask a question because you want to gain some wisdom from someone. Where'd you go on vacation? What'd you like? How do you run the Shabbos table? What do you guys find works at the Shabbos table? How do you keep your kids at the table? What kind of divrei Torah do you teach at the table? You say like high level stuff. You say like simpler stuff. You say stories. What do you do? Someone might tell you something very, very intelligent. Okay, that's the new pshat and lo call adam. Lo call adam through asking them. I was really happy with that. Lo call adam through asking them. Okay, so Rabosa, we said last week they have to do this for 2 weeks. That was my sense last week. I see my sense was right, and after the success I felt over this week, I felt even more that way. That's what I want everybody to do. That's my VOD for today. I don't have any new chidushim. I think we have to keep going that. We have to margil ourselves to ask people things. Ask people Eitzah. I think it opens up a whole aspect. First off, I think in relationships will be very good. Go to your father-in-law and ask him something. Go to your secular father-in-law and ask him something. No, my father-in-law is secular. What does he have to tell me? I'm a Talmud Chacham. I'm religious. I'm a lawyer. I'm a doctor. He's a plumber. He's a simple person. Ask him something. Ask your father something. What's your lesson in life? What are your principles? Don't embarrass him. Don't make him. Don't ask him something he's not going to know. Don't ask him what's a pshat and toast on daf tests and ksubas. Don't ask him that. But be intelligent, be socially savvy, and ask people things. Ask your kid sometimes. What does your kid think about what's going on? To hear people, to learn from them. I'm thinking about doing this. What do you say? This is what Rabbi Yerucham taught us. If you can ask a non-Jew in the shul, you can certainly ask a Yiddish kid. What does he say? What do you say? Right? Now, you have to filter and you have to take it into yourself. You have to think what's right and what's wrong. Of course. What's matim, what's not matim, what's narishkeit, what's not narishkeit. Of course. But the process of hearing people, I think that's what Rabbi Yerucham is saying, that there's a process of like including people. It's not just, of course, there's I really thought this through. I go to a gadol. I really thought this through. I go to my Rebbe. I really thought this through. Or I'm stuck in this point in life. I have a chance to speak to a big Talmud Chacham or a big psychologist, a big chinuch expert. For sure. For sure. Two levels. That's one level of receiving Eitzah. From a Baal Eitzah. I go to a Baal Eitzah on a different level in his field or in Torah in life. I go to a Baal Eitzah, even spend money on it to Baal Eitzah. But that's one thing. But Rabbi Yerucham taught us that's one level of Eitzah, Baal Eitzah. Another level of Eitzah is the people around us. If you don't do that with your wife, it's very important. A wife or a husband definitely wants to be on the other side. Sometimes some relationship are very built like that, that the spouses are sharing ideas and asking each other all the time. Some are less like that. Some people think it's like a put down on their covet if they're going to ask their wife their opinion. Ask your wife her opinion about something if you don't. Certainly, if you're a woman, ask your husband. He's waiting for you to ask him. He's waiting to lead you. You know. So that's it. So I went up the ante. I said everybody should do it 4 times over the week. I want everybody to try to do it 6 times over the week. 6 times over the week. Go over. Get in the habit. Get in the asking habit. I have to make a statement about it. Get in the habit. It's a good habit to get into. Afterwards, once you're if you're not in the habit, if you don't break out of your cocoon of not asking anybody anything, you'll never get out of it. Break out of it. Look at the opportunity. Hey, what do you say about this? I was thinking this. What do you say? Just hear what they say. Afterwards, you're not making a decision. You're not losing any money. They'll feel good. You'll feel good. Do it in a normal way. So last time we said do it 4 times. Now I'm suggesting doing 6 times, and we'll see where we are next Sunday. Okay? Elad Dvarm.
First question.
Please.
What are we lacking in our lives without doing this? I'll explain what I mean by that. What I'm hearing sort of like the Rambam's formula a little bit in terms of you have to go to like the other extremity in order to reach a certain equilibrium. So in other words, in
Right.
order to reach like a certain equilibrium of being a chacham, you have to like be a little
Right.
bit extreme with this and go out of your way. What would
Good.
be what's sort of like what would be the opposite of a chacham? And that's what I meant in terms of
A
what do we
chacham,
lack in our lives without
good.
this?
Okay, sure. My understanding of a chacham in the simplest level possible is someone who lives in the wisest way possible. Someone you see chacham in what he does, right? So now, right now, once that means I, lahavdil, right? A football coach brings everything he can into decisions that he makes, right? If you know the market, Coca-Cola is making Coca-Cola is making a decision about how to advertise. For sure, they're spending an enormous amount of money on market research and marketing, things like that. And this is where the people are. Politicians, people spend a lot of time on their decisions. A posek lahavdil has to think what are all the makaras that are nogea to this question and make sure he's thought through on all of them. So now here's our life. We want our lives to be saturated with wisdom, right? Now, other people, that's what Rabbi Yerucham was telling us. Other people do have an angle to truth, which for one reason or the other, sometimes we're lacking because we just don't see everything. That's the point. So therefore, there will be a lack in our action. Not every time, right? But here it is. Let's say that what the example I gave with shalom bias. So shalom bias is important to me. It's a topic I know about. It's a topic that I've given shiur about. But I also need chizuk in it. I certainly need good things to tell other people, right? So now maybe someone is going to tell me. Maybe someone's going to tell me a great formulation about a pithy expression about shalom bias, which will really like be perfect for what my audience needs to hear, or for me, it'll speak to me. I'll give you an example. Just like this I read in a book, but it's similar. I read this. I'm being Mefaris in this thing in this book, Let Them, which is a pretty popular book today. But someone gave it to my wife. My wife gave it to me, and she says a lot of smart things. But one of the things she says there is that when you compare yourself to other people, it's either torture or teacher, right? I mean, other people can teach you. I'll say it's sharper than she says, but other people's success can teach you. But if it's not teaching you, then it's torturing you. Why are they smarter than me? Why they have more money than me? Why they have more talent than me? So that's a very, very good. People told me, I put that on my status. I don't know if you saw it, but one of my Talmidim in St. Louis said to me, "Oh, Rebbe, that was so Givaldic, torture teacher. It's a very strong way to say something, as opposed to saying, here's where I was before. Don't look at other people. Look at other people is going to make you happy. Good. Yeah, I would say that. But now it's like, no, it's torture. It's either torture or teacher, right? You looking at other people is torturing you. It's pushing torture. That's much more than it's not good. It's torture. And it is true. I know my own life, when I look at other people, it tortures me. It tortures me, right? And I know that I can be taught by other people. So, right. So it was worth the whole book for me to hear that mishpat, right? Yes. So maybe the guy, when I'm sitting at now, if you're thinking of learning or you're busy, but maybe the guy on the line at the wedding, I'm stuck with someone for half an hour anyway at a wedding, right? So that guy might give you the next line, might give you the next insight into XYZ that you're doing. You're dealing with high school kids all the time, right? Tremendous challenge. How do I get through ideas to high school kids? So you say this thing, maybe you sit with a teacher. How do you talk to high school kids? Like, what would you think is the way to get through high school kids? He might say to something you never heard of. So I think that's the point. I think it's not that let's be honest, right? For people who are thought out, who are reading and they're thinking about what they're loving, you're in a certain, but it's you want to be the best you can be, right? So I want every angle, you know, you want every angle you can on that you can handle. People, I give you where it's too much. People give me because I wrote a book about it. So people always tell me, oh, they heard this approach, that approach. I don't have time for 50 different approaches. How have I had enough time to do my approach, right? With my business, yeah. But someone says something that's, I know my presentation about retaining learning is better than it was 3 years ago because I thought about the idea a little more. I refined it. I made the presentation better, a little tighter. I put another in. Now the idea is sharper and it's better, right? So it's like that with all things. How do you teach? How do you talk to high schoolers? How do I get a high school kid to go to Israel? Well, how do I take the truths of Torah and make it reasonable for high school kids? So NCSY has a certain madura, but then there's sharpening, and you see real experts. That's where they are. It's a little bit even at Lahavdil. I mean, in Lumdis, right? Everybody is around the same chakiras basically, but the bigger Lamdanim have it a little bit sharper and answers more kashas. That no, if you say it like this, then it's you know what I'm saying? So every little bit, I think that's the point. Every little bit is contributing to our understanding. For someone's lost, for sure, it's a contributing. But I think that's how I understand Rabbi Yerucham. It's going to be a contribution to your thinking, and our thinking is so important. So the contribution is important. Shalom Bayis is that important that a little contribution is important, and it might be a big contribution.
Yeah,
So you don't even know what
understood.
you're lacking until you're there. That's really the point. Like, what was I lacking before? I believe I've thought a million times about not looking at other people. But I'm telling you, when I saw this formulation, torture a teacher, it definitely did something for me. Look, that's a high level person in her field who's writing about motivation and whatever. But you know what I'm saying? So where was I beforehand? Was I lost? I wasn't lost. Did I think I should follow other people? No. But the idea that when you follow other people, it's torture. The sharpness, ooh, it's torture. Yeah, no, it's not just not good. It's not healthy. It's torture. That was a very good, and not only that, but you can be taught by them. And if they're too talented, if they're more talented or smarter or more money than you, and they can't teach you. Anybody who has kalim I don't have doesn't no, someone who's 7'4" doesn't teach me about how to be a better basketball player because I'm not 7'4". So me saying how come he's a better ball player than me is only torture. But looking at someone who's like me, I can talk. And if with him anyway, so you're torturing him. So I did. So here, that's a good example. What was lacking? It was lacking that the clarity of that idea, the power of that idea, to be able to teach that idea. What I didn't have, Tosefus. So that's the point, and that's where it's a chacham. It's not just evening out. We have my to bring it all home is my dagish right now is because many of us, including me, are far from this. We have to go a little bit extra in doing it. But the point I want to get to is that we can ask in order to be more intelligent. Lit chakim, not to waste the opportunities we have, with family members, with cousins, obviously it doesn't mean everywhere we go we're going to go start asking questions. Everybody be kooks, but to look, your son comes home from yeshiva. Believe me, you have what to learn from your son's experience in yeshiva. Not just that you're as a father who cares about your son. He's picked up things about the world, about yeshivas, about yeshivas nish, about there's a whole world that he's living. Our kids live in definitely our older kids. By old I don't mean 21. I mean, my 20-year-old. The kid he's off the charts. So I have what to learn from him. So it's not I'm the father, I'm the son, but your kid, Noam Chaim, right? He's done a good thing in yeshiva. So he's picked up stuff, believe it or not. I'm telling you, I have no doubt he has a lot of things to teach you. Not because you're for sure smarter than him. You're ahead of him. It's not because he's ahead of you, but there's things that he's picked up. You don't know, like about how the world works, about how kids today are, but what's going on, about Torah things, different Torah, different things from his Rabbeim, one-liners. One-liners. So I give you one more one-liner, which I just picked up. I one thing when I have I give a series in Yeshiva maybe once a year on Shalom Bayis to the married guys. So at the end, I have what I call shorts. I have my major things which I want to do. And I have like shorts. I could be heard this line from your arm, but someone who looks at his wife's chesronis has Gehenim, and someone looks at his wife's milas has Gan Eden. It's an incredible statement. And where did I see that? I went into yeshiva. I picked up a book which is just a small yeshiva, which not a chashav yeshiva per se. Like just walked in there. They had this book. I have no idea. I wouldn't recognize the book if I saw it today. But an incredible line. That line I've said over 10 times, 15 times, 20 times. I've thought it many times. Such an important line. So it was a one-liner. So just like so there's that guy. But the taxi driver also has his one-liner. The I think that's the point. And so that's the chacham. That a person's busy. If you're busy thinking in sugis hashas, so maybe it's not time to do that. I'm not saying you're helping someone, but you stomp sitting around, you stomp in line. Well, you don't know what you go digging. That's lomim kol adam, right? You're hungry for wisdom. Who knows what wisdom is in that person. But if I don't, that was my chiddush for this year. If I don't ask him, I don't know. I used to figure like I'll figure it out, or if he'll do something which is outstanding, and then it'll be there for me. Now I realize, no, scratch the surface a little bit. Hear what they have to say. Okay, that's lacha, friends. See ya. 6 times, not 4.
Yeah.